Hey everyone, this is Lolcohol, and in this video we're going to be discussing the trade site. I think a lot of people aren't totally sure how to use it well, so I'm going to do my best to break it down and teach you how to use it like a pro. So let's get started. This is what you'll be welcomed with when you first open the trade site. At the top, you'll have search items. Here you can just click here and type any item that you want, rare, unique, whatever. You just type chevrons. Let's say you want chevrons. You can just click it. A lot of this is very straightforward. Under type filters, you can just search for specific item types, weapons, armor, so on, and rarity. I quite often use any non-unique because sometimes you'll be searching, I don't know, for a helmet with a specific enchant and you don't want to see unique ones if you're looking for a base. Then under weapon filters, you can search for very specific things. Again, this should be pretty straightforward. If you want, high physical DPS, you just type, I want 420 physical DPS. And same thing under armor. If you want a chest piece, let's say I want body armor with at least 500 energy shield, you can do it like that. Same thing for socket filters. You can say I want an item with 6 links. You can select the colors. You can say, but it must have 3 red, 2 green, and 1 blue socket. And then under requirements, I don't really ever use this. I mean, if you're searching early on in League, you can say it mustn't be over level 70 requirement, but again, I don't really use that. Under map filters, once again, this should be pretty straightforward. You can see your map tier, increased item quantity. I mean, does anyone ever search for that? Shape map, blighted map, you might use if you're doing some blighted map runs. And I think map region can be useful if you're farming a specific zone. You can say, I want to search for maps in Haywalk Hamlet with at least a map tier of 14. As for map series, this, if you don't play standard, is pretty irrelevant. Just leave it on any. Heist filters, ooh, this is pretty specific. Things like wings revealed, escape routes revealed. I'm not going to go into that. This is very niche. If you're doing heist, a lot of this will make sense to you and you should be able to search for it. But let's get down to miscellaneous. This is actually very useful. This is probably where I spend most of my time on the trade side. So over here, you can search for your gem level and quality. So if you're looking for a level 21 gem with 23% quality, you can do it like that. Obviously, minimum will say, I want at least this amount. Item level, this is very useful if you're looking for a specific base. Let's say you want to make an astral plate with tier 1 life, you need item level 86, so you'll type that there. Gem quality type, here you can just search for anomalous, divergent, phantasmal, or any alternate. That can be useful. Influence, these are all the different influence types. Let's say you want to search for just Shaper. Now, I wish there was a button that said only instead of just yes and no, because then you could say, I only want Shaper influence, because sometimes you'll search for an item, it'll have Shaper and Crusader or Shaper and any other second influence, but maybe that exists. I don't know about it. If it does, someone please tell me, because if you just want Shaper, you have to go no, 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 no. Same thing if you want to search for an item without influence, you have to go no, 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 no on this. Hopefully I am just overlooking something and someone can tell me in the comments that there is actually a button that says only and no influence. But let's continue. If you don't want a whole lot of copies to show up, you can turn off, mirrored. I don't want to see any mirrored helms. Identified. I've used this in the past when buying Watcher's Eyes, so you can turn that on if you want. Very specific, pretty straightforward. Same thing with Enchanted. I mainly use these ones over here. These ones, much more niche use case, but it should make sense. Do I want a corrupted item? No, I don't. So I click that and say no. Let's just head down to the trade filters at the bottom. You can see seller account if you want to buy from a specific person or see items that a specific person is selling. Also listed, this can be useful. So you can say, I only want to see items listed up to a day ago. So if you want to see more recent results, you can do it like that. Also, this is very useful, buyout price. So if you don't want to see price fixes where they're listing things for 0.5 Parandus coins, you can just say, instead of Chaos Orb equivalent, you can say specifically Chaos Orbs and say at least one, because price fixes don't tend to price things for Chaos Orbs. Also, buyout or fixed price, again, I wouldn't really worry too much about that. That's very niche use case. And I want to get over to the stat filters. This is where people struggle and don't understand. So I'm going to hop over to another screen and we can look at what I have there. Okie doke. So stat filters. So first thing I want to talk about is pseudo and explicit modifiers. So let's type in life. So you can see here we've got pseudo maximum life, but then also explicit maximum life. So what pseudo says is, I want this mod in any form in which it may come. So for example, strength adds life. So if you have something with 50 strength, it'll add a bit of life. I think it's 2 strength points equals 1 life. So if you say, I want to search for something with 100 life and it's pseudo, you might get an item that has, say, 80 life and 50 strength. But if you want to search for explicit, that'll search for only items with exactly a mod that says 100 to maximum life and above. Let's say you make it minimum. That'll make it very specific. So that's important to note. Pseudo versus explicit. Something else very, very, very important. A lot of people don't know this, but if you type a tilde, that's just that little wiggly symbol. It's next to the 1 on your keyboard. If you hit shift and that thingy, it makes a tilde. This will activate fuzzy search. So with this, you won't have to remember the exact wording. I don't know why this isn't default, but let's say you want to go weapon elemental damage. You don't remember the exact wording. If you activate fuzzy search, you can go weapon elemental and it'll probably show up if any of those words are in the mod that you're looking for. You can also do that over here. So if I want to search for a medium cluster jewel, I have to go medium cluster jewel. But if you're lazy, you can go tilde med cla and you'll see there it shows up. That does not work if you don't have the tilde. It'll show no results or just confused. So tilde is your best friend on the trade site. Yay. Next up, let's have a look. You can add stat groups, and under stat groups, you'll see you've got and, not, if, count, and weighted sum. So I believe that and is the default. And is saying, I want these modifiers and these modifiers. So I don't use and very often, but I think what's useful about it is that you can search for multiple items. Let's say you want a body armor with life, and then you feel like also searching for a weapon with some different modifiers. You can search for the first item over here, let's say life on a chest piece. And then if you don't want to have to go down here and click clear and then do a brand new search, you can just go and create your new item. And then you can see there's these little radio icons. You can just click that off and then it'll search for this item instead. If you want to search for this item, you can click off this radio button and it won't search for that one. So that's if you do want to use and, that is one useful way to do it. Let's look at not. Not is I do not want this mod to show up in the search results. So if you don't want to see attributes, you can say, I don't want that. Don't show it to me. Count. Now this is very useful. Count says, I want at least X number of these modifiers. So an example would be with discharge. So the gem discharge has got very many tags. It's got fire, lightning, and cold tags. So let's say I'm searching for a weapon that has fire damage over time multiplier, fire damage, but I also want level of gems. And I know that it has the fire, lightning, and cold tag. So I could say, I want fire damage over time multiplier, fire multi. There you see I use the tilde. I want fire multi. And also I want at least one mod that grants fire or lightning or cold skill gems. Hopefully that makes sense. You can also set this to 2 if you want 2 of these, but count, very useful. My favorites out of these, count and not. Weighted sum. Now, this is pretty advanced. So it can be useful. Essentially, it allows you to search for many mods simultaneously. So you could actually add, 20 mods here, and then you can add the weight of their importance. So instead of having to do multiple searches with just 6 modifiers, you can add 20. Let's say you've got a jewel and there's 20 different modifiers on it that are all pretty good. Some are better than others. You can do this to add all those modifiers and then add a number that suggests their importance and then search for all of those. It is pretty advanced. So instead of spending 20 minutes explaining that, I will link a video in the description where someone explains exactly how weighted sum works. It's pretty niche, but in some cases it can be useful. I must admit, I never ever use it, but maybe you will want to. As for the last stat group, there's if. This essentially says, I only want to see this modifier if it has this range of values. So don't show me fire resistance unless it has 45 to 48 resistance. If it does have 45 to 48 fire resistance, show it to me. So again, I almost never use this, but I wanted to make you aware of it just so you don't feel like I'm leaving anything else out. I also wanted to go over some other useful searches, especially for cluster jewels. So over here, you'll see that there is an enchant that says added small passive skills grant X. So if you search for this, you can click here and it'll show all the different cluster jewel types that you can get. So if you're not finding, let's say you want a fire damage over time multiplier cluster jewel and you go fire damage over time. It's not showing up. Where the heck is it? How do I find it? The reason you're not finding it is because it's kind of subcategorized over here. So you can search for it here and now you can type fire damage over time multiplier. It's a bit confusing, but I think it's just to keep things a bit neater so there's not 20,000 different modifiers. So remember this, added small passive skills grant X, and then you will find your cluster jewel. You can also search for amulets with specific annoyance. So you can say enchant allocate, and then you can click through whatever. If you want diamond skin, yep, it'll show you amulets with diamond skin. Same thing for added passive skills or jewel sockets. If you only want to see cluster jewels with 8 passive skills, you can do it like that. So let's do a simple search together. I want a belt with 180 maximum life, and I want it to be a leather belt. Leather belt. And I scroll down, and I don't want it to be unique. I want a rare belt with this much life. So we put all these in, and then we scroll down and hit search, and a whole lot of results will come up. Well, 4 results. There's this guy. Let's hit this ignore button because he's trolling us with his price. Ignore. Never ever see that person again. But now you'll see all the results. You can then click these modifiers over here. So click that. It'll organize from top to bottom with this specific modifier. So if you want to see from most to least, you can click a modifier. it'll put the item with whichever modifier you click with the highest value on top. So let's see which one has, if you click it a second time, it'll show you the least. So there it puts bottom to top. This one's got 115 life. Which one has the most life? Click that. This one has the most life. You can do the same thing with the price. So if you want to see the cheapest or the most expensive, you can click it. These are all pretty much listed for similar values. So we click that. It'll show, okay, this is the most expensive one. What does the most expensive one have? It has these things. You can also then just click this. This will automatically copy the trade message to your clipboard. So you say, I want to whisper them, click that, then in-game hit enter and Control V, it'll copy that message, and then you just hit enter, it'll message them and say, hey, I want to buy this item. You can also click the PM button. That'll allow you to message them on the official Path of Exile website. This is not very common, but some cases you will want to do it. If there's like a very expensive rare item and they've been offline for 2 weeks, you can send them a PM, maybe they see it, and yeah, it's just a good way to get in contact with people. Also at the top you can see there's these little buttons that I didn't know existed till I started making this video. So you've got default, which looks all pretty. You can do compact. This kind of looks a bit like POE trade. I don't use that. And compact 2-columned. This just shows you more results. This is actually pretty cool. I didn't know about this. So if you don't want things to be as pretty and spread out, you can click one of these buttons. You can also click the show filters button. That'll bring you back to your actual search, and then you can scroll down and your search will be at the bottom of the trade. You can hide those. And then if you want to start a new search, you just hit this clear button. But before we do that, I just want to show you the activate live search function. So after searching for an item, you can activate live search, and then every time an item with the modifiers that you want shows up on the trade site, it'll make a little ping sound and it'll alert you that, hey, this item that you want, someone just came online or just listed one of these items. So this can be useful if you're looking for a good deal on a specific item, or if you want to be alerted every time a pretty rare specific item shows up on the market. You can just click this to deactivate it. And then one other thing to show you before we move on is that over here you can search for the different leagues: standard, hardcore, hardcore ritual, and then online or any. So if there is an item like this where there's only 3 listed and you kind of don't have a too good idea of what the value of it is, you can go any, hit search, and many more results will pop up. And you can see, what are these people listing it for? 1x, 3x, oh, that was a month ago, so long ago. If you want to PM these people who are offline, just click that PM button. But yeah, searching for offline can be a useful way to get a price of an item that is less common. Let's quickly hop over to settings. Over here you can see a few things. So at the top you've got online status, show my status on all leagues. So I believe show my status is default. This will only show that you are online in the league in which that character is logged in. So if you're playing Ritual League and you have show my status active, but you also have items for sale in standard, if someone searches for an item, your item in standard won't show up because you're not online in standard. So if you're selling things in multiple leagues, make sure you've got show my status on all leagues. So this is, if you're playing in Ritual League and someone searches for an item in standard that you're selling, it'll show that you are online in standard as well. Appear offline, straightforward. If you don't want people annoying you, you can just say, I'm offline. Whisper language, keep this on default, unless you want to only speak English to people. I think that the trade whisper system actually translates into the other person's language. Correct me if I'm wrong, but yeah, just leave that. As for search setting, notification sounds, this is if you have a live search. If you want a different little sound that you want to go off when an item shows up, you can change it and you can change the volume. Over here, you've got your ignore list. So if you want to unignore people, you can do that. I ignore many, many people, and I will never unignore them. Hopping over to the about section, read this if you like. I would say bulk item exchange. This is probably pretty important if you want to list something for like, I have 10 chaos orbs. I want to sell them for 3 ancient orbs. This is how you can do that in your trade search. So just have a read through this. I don't want to read to you, but I would say it's worth going through this. Moving over to bulk item exchange. Here you can buy currency and catalysts and oils and divination cards and scarabs and resonators and everything. So on the right, you've got items I have. So let's say I have exalted orbs and I want to buy mirrors of Calandra. You can do it like that, or chaos orbs, probably something more realistic. This is pretty straightforward. Let's say you want to buy some fossils. You've got chaos orbs and you want to buy some frigid fossils. You can just click here and then click there. Same thing for scarabs and incubators, what have you. Down at the bottom, you've got your seller filters. So if you want to search for a specific seller, you can do that. But most important, minimum stock. So if I search for a frigid fossil now, let's see what shows up. Here's a whole lot of people selling 2 frigid fossils, 4 frigid fossils, 1 frigid fossil. Oh, I don't want to have to message them. Can't I just buy 100 from one guy or gal or whatever? Here you can say 100. I only want to see people who have 100 frigid fossils. Let's see. There you go. All of these people that show up will have at least 100 frigid fossils. Bear in mind that buying in bulk is generally more expensive, but I would rather buy in bulk, pay extra and make one trade rather than making 100 trades to save a few chaos. Something else you can do that's pretty cool that not a lot of people do is, let's say you have a fractured fossil. You picked up a fractured fossil and you want to find a buyer instantly. You can say, I have a fractured fossil and I want to sell it for an exalted orb, and then hit search. Hey, there's some guys buying those. Just compare these prices to the sell price, because sometimes these people will offer you less, but more often than not, these are actually pretty close to the trade price. So if you don't want to put this fractured fossil in your stash and then wait for someone to buy it from you, you can do a reverse sale where you say, I have this and I want that. Same thing for divination cards, scarabs, and so on. If you want to make quick sales, you can say, I have a winged piranha scarab. Somebody buy it. I'm sure there's some... Okay. No one's buying that, but I'm sure people are buying things like winged legion scarabs. So there you go. That's another important thing to note. I think I have gone on long enough this video, so if I've missed anything, please let me know. I will add any important things that you guys shared that I might have missed in the pinned comment, so be sure to scroll down, check the pinned comment, and if you enjoyed the video, like and subscribe. Very much appreciated. Have a good day, everybody. Bye. That was weird.
Divine power! Divine power! It's launching exile. You're making me nervous.